She didn't expect the shovel to hit wood. The sun had barely risen, casting a pale orange haze across the backyard. The birds were loud, louder than usual, as if trying to drown out what was about to be unearthed. Maya's hands trembled as she crouched over the small hole she'd been digging since 4 a.m. It wasn't deep, just enough to reach something she'd never imagined would be there. Thud. That sound again. She dropped to her knees, brushing the dirt away with shaking fingers. The old wooden box stared back at her, scratched, weathered and sealed with rusted metal hinges. She froze. It was real, exactly where the anonymous letter said it would be. She hadn't slept all night after finding that note taped under her car's windshield wiper. No name, no explanation, just 11 words written in sharp black ink. Dig. 6 feet from the oak, the truth is waiting. She thought it was a joke at first, until she saw the handwriting, her husband's. 3 hours earlier, she had watched him sleep beside her, the man she'd been married to for 11 years. The man who told her everything, or so she believed. Now staring at the box buried behind their home, with nothing but silence and suspicion pulsing in her chest, Maya felt something she hadn't felt in years. Fear. The box was heavier than it looked. She pulled it out with a grunt, brushed off more dirt and sat back. Her heart was thudding in her ears. She looked around once, making sure no neighbors were watching, then pulled it open. Inside were 3 items: a small velvet pouch, a folded newspaper clipping, stained and old, a Polaroid photo, its edges yellowed. Her fingers reached for the pouch first. Inside were 2 wedding rings, hers and a woman's she didn't recognize, smaller, thinner, worn. Her breath caught. Why would he bury someone else's wedding ring? She opened the newspaper clipping next. The headline sent a chill up her spine. Local woman still missing after 4 years. No leads. The name made her stomach twist. Elena Rivers. She remembered that name. It was all over the local news years ago. A teacher, disappeared without a trace. Rumors of a lover, foul play, maybe even a runaway, but never solved. The Polaroid was last, and it was what made Maya's legs nearly give out. It was her husband, with Elena, his arm around her waist, both smiling, and in the background, their backyard. This backyard. Maya stumbled back, almost dropping the photo. The date scribbled. On the back was from 6 years ago. 6 years ago, he told her he'd gone to a work retreat in Seattle. That same weekend, Elena had vanished. Her blood went cold. She sat on the porch steps for what felt like hours, staring at the items. The box lay beside her like a coffin. She wanted to scream, to run, to demand answers, but she didn't. Instead, she went back inside, put the photo in her pocket, and made breakfast, just like every morning. Eggs, toast, coffee. When he walked into the kitchen 20 minutes later, rubbing his eyes and yawning, Maya smiled at him. "Morning," he said, kissing her cheek. "What's for breakfast?" Her voice didn't waver. "Just eggs." He didn't notice. Her hands shaking. Later that day, she began digging again, but this time not in the yard. In his past, emails, old phone bills, deleted messages, password resets, cloud backups. She went full detective, heart racing as she clicked through each digital breadcrumb. It didn't take long. She found old love letters in a locked folder on his drive. One of them ended with, "You promised we'd leave together. I can't wait anymore. If you don't come by Friday, I'll go alone." Either timestamp. The day before Elena went missing. Maya felt bile rise in her throat. By nightfall, she wasn't sure who she was married to anymore. She wanted to confront him, to throw the box at his feet and scream. But something in her gut said, "Wait, watch. Understand what kind of man he really is. Don't give him a reason to hide the rest." So she played along. They had dinner together, watched a movie. He even laughed, that same laugh that once made her fall in love. It sounded hollow now. He had no idea she'd found the box, but when he kissed her forehead goodnight and turned off the light, Maya finally saw what she'd missed for years. The stranger in her bed. The next morning, she called an old friend, Lena. They hadn't spoken in years, not since Maya's wedding. Lena was now a forensic analyst in the city. No small talk. "I need to know how to find blood in soil," Maya said flatly. Silence. "Maya, what the hell is going on?" Maya's voice cracked. "Just tell me, please." That evening, while her husband was at the gym, Maya returned to the backyard, this time with gloves and a black light Lena sent through courier. She began scanning the yard in slow, precise lines. She didn't find blood, but she found something worse. Another box. This one was metal, locked tight. She dug it out, dragged it to the garage, and forced it open with a crowbar. Inside, a burner phone and a recorded voicemail saved under one contact: "Do not delete." She pressed play. The voice was Elena's. "I trusted you. You said she didn't matter, that she'd be gone, but you lied. If you don't do something, I will. I'm not afraid of her. I'll tell her everything." The message cut off. The timestamp? 1 day before her disappearance. Maya's hands trembled violently. The dots were connecting, fast. Her husband hadn't just cheated, he'd lied, covered up, maybe worse. But what exactly had he done? And why was there no trace of Elena's body anywhere? Maya needed answers. Real ones, not just shadows. And suspicions. So she did the one thing she never thought she would. She followed him. He told her he was going to a late-night meeting. Said he'd be home by midnight. Kissed her like he meant it. She waited 15 minutes, then grabbed her keys and tailed him down the dark highway. He didn't notice. She followed him for nearly 40 minutes. Out of town, past the old mill road, and into the woods near Lake Andorra. He got out, carried something, a duffel bag, and disappeared into the trees. Maya waited, watched the clock. 5 minutes. 10, 15. When he finally emerged, the bag was gone, and he was wiping his hands on a towel. He didn't see her. She didn't sleep that night. Her husband was hiding something out there, something buried, something dangerous, and whatever it wasn't over. Because just before sunrise, a message came to her phone from a number she didn't know. "You found 1 box, but how many did he bury?" The morning after the message, Maya sat on the porch, phone clenched in her fist, staring at the screen. "You found 1 box, but how many did he bury?" No name, no clue who sent it, just that. She looked out at the backyard again. The dirt. A patch near the oak tree now smoothed over, but not forgotten. The silence of the early morning buzzed louder than any birdsong. Her coffee had gone cold, untouched. Her hands hadn't stopped shaking. How many boxes? How many lies? Inside, her husband, Daniel, was making pancakes, whistling. It chilled her to the bone. She knew now what that smile was. A mask. And for 11 years, she'd kissed it goodnight without ever seeing the monster underneath. That evening, Maya waited until he fell asleep, or at least pretended to, then slipped out of bed, grabbed her keys, flashlight, gloves, and a long kitchen knife, just in case, and drove back to Lake Andorra. She didn't know what she expected to find, just that something inside her screamed, "There's more!" She parked half a mile from where she saw him disappear into the trees the night before. The forest was thick and silent. Only the sound of her boots crunching on dried leaves kept her company. A minute in, her flashlight caught something. A boot print. Fresh, still sunken deep in the mud. She followed. 20 minutes of hiking later, she found it. A small clearing, a shallow pit, loose soil. He'd buried something here. Last night. Her chest tightened. She dropped to her knees and started digging with her hands, dirt scraping her skin. Deeper, faster, her breath shallow. Then her fingers scraped fabric. She pulled harder, a duffel bag, just like the one she saw him carrying. Maya yanked it free and unzipped it. Inside, women's clothes, blood-stained, torn, and a phone, still working miraculously. She powered it on, and the background image made her heart stop. It was Elena, smiling, in the same red dress now crumpled and bloodied in the bag. Maya stumbled back, hands over her mouth. It was real, all of it. She took photos, everything in the bag, then zipped it shut and dragged it with her all the way to her car. Her arms were burning, her lungs felt like fire. When she got home, she hid the duffel in the attic, locked it in an old trunk, and sat in her car trying to breathe. How much deeper did this go? And who was sending her messages? The next day, Daniel took her to brunch like nothing was wrong, played the doting husband role so well it made her want to vomit. Midway through Eggs Benedict, she leaned in. "Remember Elena Rivers?" she asked. Casually, voice steady, he blinked, paused. Fork halfway to his mouth. "The missing teacher," he said, too quickly. "Yeah, that was sad. You ever meet her?" He shook his head. "Nah, just from the news." "Why?" She smiled. "No. Reason." But in that tiny, flickering hesitation, Maya saw it again, the mask slipping. That night, she uploaded the Polaroid, the love letters, and the voicemail to an encrypted folder in the cloud, just in case something happened to her. Then she texted the unknown number, "Who are you?" No reply. She waited. 2 hours later, a video file came through, no message. Just footage. It was grainy, time-stamped from 6 years ago, just days before Eleanor's disappearance. In it, Daniel was standing in the backyard, arguing with a woman. Maya couldn't hear what was being said, but the body language was unmistakable. Yelling, hands thrown in the air, a shove, then Elena fell, hard. She didn't move. Daniel froze. "This can't be real." "It is," Caroline whispered. "Carlyle made his sons part of something twisted, an experiment, a legacy. But you weren't supposed to survive it. Why did he do it?" Caroline looked down. He believed certain people were born to endure pain, and that breaking them revealed their true nature. Maya clenched her fists. "I'm done being broken." Back in her car, Maya called Rowan. "I found her. I found my mother." "What? Is she okay?" "She's safe. But there's more. We need to find Carlyle, not just to stop him, but to stop whatever he's building next." Rowan exhaled slowly. "I might have a lead." Later that week, Rowan traced a fake identity. Charles Hartley, a man who had bought an off-grid property in Alaska under a shell company, Carlyle. He was still alive, still hiding, still planning. But this time, Maya was coming for him, not as a victim, as the final reckoning. Snow crunched beneath Maya's boots. The wind bit her skin, dry and brutal as sandpaper. Trees rose like sentinels on both sides of the narrow path, branches heavy with untouched snow. The GPS said she was close, 1 more mile. She gripped the gun Rowan had insisted she take, small, black, light, but it felt like carrying lightning. She had one goal now, Carlyle Hale, the father who may not have raised her but had watched her like prey, the man who trained his sons to seduce, betray, destroy, and called it legacy. And now he was up here, hiding like a wounded animal in this icy nowhere. But Maya didn't feel cold, she felt fire. The cabin emerged through the trees, a crooked, rotting structure. Snow blanketed the roof. Smoke curled faintly from a rusted chimney. One flickering window. Dim orange light dancing behind a dusty curtain. Her stomach clenched. She stepped forward. Halfway to the door, she paused. Something moved at the edge of her vision. A shadow, fast to the left. She turned sharply, gun raised. Nothing. Just woods. Just silence. She knocked. Nothing. Again. Harder. Finally the door creaked open. Just a sliver. A man appeared in the gap. Wrinkled face. Wild grey beard. Eyes sharp like broken glass. He didn't look surprised. "You came," he rasped, like a moth to flame. Maya stared at him. "You're Carlyle." He didn't deny it. He stepped back and let the door fall open. She followed him in. The cabin was a shrine to dust and memory. Newspaper clippings tacked to the walls. Photos of Daniel Gregory herself. A map of the town, pins stuck in it like wounds. He moved slowly, sinking into a leather chair by the fire. I suppose you want the whole truth, he said. Maya didn't answer, just stared. Carlyle sighed. You weren't the first, but you were the only one who mattered in the end. Because I survived, he chuckled. No, my dear, because you remembered. Maya flinched. What are you talking about? He pointed to a small scar near her right eye. You got that falling off a bike. You were 6, I was there. You screamed so loud I swore the sky cracked. She touched the scar, shaken. No, that happened with my adoptive. No, he said softly. That was me. I raised you. For almost 7 years. Before they took you away. Before I became the monster in your dreams, instead of the father in your memories. Maya's knees nearly buckled. He was right. She remembered the bike, the blood, the gentle hands that held her face and told her not to cry. It was him. You kidnapped me, she whispered. He didn't flinch. I saved you, he said, from your junkie birth parents, from foster care. You were born into chaos. I gave you structure, a name, education, control. You gave me hell, she spat. Only after you ran. Maya's voice trembled. I didn't run. I was rescued. He smiled. By who? The Carsons? I let you go. You were becoming too awake, asking questions, remembering the others. Her heart pounded. You killed them. He looked almost offended. No, I never killed anyone. I tested them. Some failed. Others vanished. Maya raised the gun. You're sick. Carlyle stood slowly. Shoot me, and the real truth dies with me. Maya's hand shook. Then she heard a floorboard creak from the back room. She froze. Carlyle just smiled. You didn't think I lived alone, did you? The door opened, and Maya's breath caught in her throat. Daniel, alive, bruised, bloodied, and chained. His wrists were raw, his face hollow. Maya, he rasped. She stepped back, gun flying between Carlyle and Daniel. What the hell is this? Carlyle chuckled. You think he betrayed you, but he was never truly free either. Daniel's eyes brimmed. I tried to warn you. I sent the messages. I sent the photo of Elena. He found out. That's when he locked me up. Maya's mind spun. Why would I believe you? Because I loved you, Daniel said. Even when I wasn't supposed to, Carlyle scoffed. Love, he spat. You were trained, Daniel. You were supposed to break her, not fall for her. Daniel's voice cracked. She broke me instead. Maya stepped forward. Gun aimed at Carlyle. Give me the key. Carlyle didn't move. You free him. You seal your fate. Maya stared him down. I sealed it the day you took me from my real life. Then, without flinching, she shot him. One clean bullet to the leg. He screamed and crumpled, grabbing his thigh. The key hit the floor. Maya ran, grabbed it, and unlocked Daniel's chains. He collapsed into her arms. I'm sorry, he whispered. She didn't answer. She couldn't. Not yet. They tied Carlyle up and called Rowan. The detective's voice crackled with disbelief. You're telling me you have Carlyle Hale alive in that cabin? Yes. And Daniel? Maya looked at the broken man beside her. Yes. But we need to talk about him later. Understood. Sending a team. Sit tight. But Maya couldn't sit still. She wandered into the back room, a makeshift office, old computer, scattered notes, and in the center, a large corkboard covered in names, subjects, some crossed out, some circled, one at the very top, Maya, Faith, final candidate. Under it, the cycle ends when she chooses. Maya stared at it, felt everything inside her crack, and settle into something harder. It had never been about Daniel or even Gregory. It was about her. She wasn't prey. She was the prize, the variable, the one who wouldn't break. She walked back into the main room, where Daniel sat with his head in his hands. You were part of this. He looked up, eyes red. I was born into it, but I never wanted this. You still lied. I know I lied to survive. Maya looked at him for a long time, then said, That's over now. Rowan arrived with backup an hour later. Carlyle was arrested. Daniel was taken into custody, willingly, but before he left, he said one thing. "Don't let him rewrite you, Maya. You're not a result. You're a revolution." Back home, Maya sat in Elena's room. Her daughter clutched her hand, finally smiling. "Safe." She kissed her forehead. "It's over," she whispered, but deep down, she knew it wasn't. Not completely, because she'd just cracked open the real story, the one about who she really was and what it meant to live beyond what they tried to make her. The courthouse smelled like old wood and quiet fear. Maya sat in the front row, clutching Eleanor's tiny bracelet in her pocket like a lifeline. It had been 6 months since that night in the cabin. 6 months since Carlisle Hale, the man who had kidnapped her, raised her, manipulated countless lives, had been taken into custody, and today was his trial. It wasn't open to the public. Too many sealed files, too many buried names. The courtroom was almost empty. A few federal agents, a judge who looked like she hadn't blinked since morning, and Maya alone. Daniel had offered to testify. She'd said no. He had already done. Enough! Carlisle entered with cuffs around his wrists, a smirk still sewn into his face, like he knew something no one else did. Like he was still playing a game only he understood. He met her eyes as he passed. She didn't look away. The prosecution called Maya first. She stood, walked to the stand. Every step felt like walking through a fire. And then she spoke. For 2 hours she told the court about the lies, the manipulation, the men who were trained to break women and vanish. About her own childhood, the stolen years, the erasure of who she was. About Daniel. About the cabin, and about the box, the one she'd dug up behind the house 3 days after the arrest, buried beneath a dead lilac bush, inside a rusted tin. Photos, birth certificates, letters, some hers, some from other girls who never made it. And one chilling document, Project Lazarus, Candidate Cycle 12, objective long-term psychological endurance testing. Final control subject, Faith, aka Maya. She'd read it 100 times. Every word had stripped another layer of her past away. She was never just a victim, she had been a project. When she finished her testimony, the courtroom was silent. The judge looked visibly shaken. Carlisle just leaned back like he was watching a play. When asked if he wanted to speak, he nodded. He stood, slowly, and turned toward Maya. "I did what I did because I believed in a higher evolution," he said. "Not everyone is built to survive trauma. She was. I created that." "You didn't create me," Maya said, standing up. "You tried to destroy me." Carlisle smiled. "And yet here you are." That night Maya walked out of the courthouse and into the cold air. Reporters swarmed outside, but she kept her head down. Rowan waited by the car. "He's going away for in life," he said. She nodded. "But you don't feel finished." "No," she admitted, "because I'm not." He hesitated. "You know, there's a chance others were involved. Carlisle didn't act alone. Files are still being decrypted. We're just getting started." Maya stared up at the sky. "I don't care about all of them. I care about one thing. Now." "What's that?" She looked at him steady. "Elena." Back home, Maya finally unpacked a box she'd avoided since the night of the cabin. Daniel had written her a letter. Just one. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I never stopped, trying to protect you." Maya dropped the phone. Her hands were shaking again. She called Detective Rowan, sent him the photo. He ran facial recognition on the background. A mirror in the corner matched an abandoned property on Hillside Drive, 20 minutes from Maya's. A home, old farmhouse, no owner listed. Police records showed it was once owned by a Gregory Hale, Daniel's brother. Rowan called for backup. SWAT, full team. But Maya didn't wait. She drove. Elena didn't have hours. The house stood in the middle of nowhere. Crooked porch, boards falling off, windows blackened. Maya parked down the road, heart slamming in her ears. She entered through the side, the door unlocked, swinging. The smell hit her first. mildew, blood, old wood. Then the whispers, low, chanting. A man's voice. She followed it down the stairs, into the basement, and then she saw him, Gregory, mid-40s, pale, dirty, hair long and matted, eyes sharp as blades, and Eleanor tied to a chair, blood on her lip, breathing but weak. Gregory turned. As Maya stepped in, "I was wondering when you'd come." She raised the knife. "Let her go." He tilted his head, smiling. "I'm doing what Daniel couldn't, cleaning up his mess." "You're his mess," he laughed. "He was always soft, always stupid, couldn't finish what he started. So I did." Maya lunged. They struggled, fierce, brutal. He slammed her into the wall. She kicked, bit, slashed. The knife caught his arm. He screamed. Eleanor cried out, "Maya!" Maya crawled toward her. Gregory grabbed her ankle. Then bang! Gunshot. Gregory dropped. Detective Rowan stood at the top of the stairs, gun still raised. Behind him, police flooded in. They took Gregory into custody. Elena was rushed to the hospital. Maya followed in silence. That night, as she sat beside Elena's hospital bed, Maya felt everything inside her collapse. The fear, the rage, the questions. Everything had started with a box in the dirt, but it ended with truth pulled from the shadows. Daniel, Gregory, the attic, the lies, all of it, exposed. Later, Maya would learn the rest. Gregory had been obsessed with surveillance for over a decade. He believed in watching the watchers. He followed Daniel's affair, filmed Elena's near death, and kept detailed logs on every move they made. He was the one who sent the first message to Maya, but not out of kindness, out of control. He wanted to see what she'd do, how far she'd go. She had passed his test. Barely, but the story isn't over. Because as Maya finally lay in bed that night, exhausted beyond words, her phone buzzed once. No caller ID, a text. "You found the brother, but not the father." Her breath caught. What father? Then, a second message. "You thought it started with Daniel, but he was just the next link." Maya sat frozen, staring at the text. "You thought it started with Daniel, but he was just the next link. You found the brother, but not the father." The words didn't make sense. Daniel's father had died years ago. That's what Daniel told her. That's what the obituary said. Heart failure, quiet death, closed casket. So why was someone suggesting otherwise? Her skin crawled. She called Detective Rowan. "This number just messaged me again," she said, voice tight. "They're saying Daniel's father is still alive." Rowan was silent for a moment. Then, "Maya, that might actually be true." At Police HQ the next morning, Rowan laid out a stack of documents, birth certificates, property records, photos. A single name came up over and over. Carlisle Hale. Father, to both Daniel and Gregory, retired high school principal. Loved in the community, but things took a dark turn in the late 1990s. Allegations of misconduct. A student gone missing. No charges filed. But Carlisle suddenly sold his house, disappeared with his wife, and was never seen in town again. Except his wife died 2 years later. Car crash. And Carlisle, no death certificate, no body, no grave. "I don't think he ever died," Rowan said. "I think he went underground." Maya leaned back, her throat dry. "And you think he's still watching?" Rowan nodded. "I think he never stopped." That night, Maya returned to the house alone. Elena was still in the hospital, safe, healing, but Maya's peace was gone. Something had shifted. Daniel had lied. Gregory had hunted. But Carlisle, he had orchestrated. She walked into the living room, every shadow now alive. She looked around. The attic empty, the backyard still. Then she noticed the old bookshelf near the fireplace. One of the only things they'd never moved. A strange idea hit her. She slid her hand along the back and felt it. A hollow space. She pulled. The shelf groaned, then popped open. A hidden panel. Inside, A small metal box, a flash drive, a folded photograph. She took it all out and sat on the floor. The photo was old, torn, a teenage Daniel and Gregory, standing with a man who had cold eyes and a strange smirk. Carlisle. Behind them, the same forest behind her house. She plugged. In the flash drive, a folder appeared. Project F. She opened it, videos, dozens, some labeled by date, others by names she didn't recognize. She clicked one. Maya, age 6, park bench. Her stomach dropped. The screen played grainy footage. Her, 6 years old, eating ice cream. On a bench with her mother. A zoomed-in shot from across the street. A man's voice whispered, "She looks just like her." Maya's world tilted. She didn't know Daniel back then, so why had Carlisle been watching her? She clicked another file. DH plus subject 12, basement confession. This time Daniel's voice filled the screen. "I didn't want to do this. Dad, she's not like the others." Carlisle. "They're all like the others. That's the point. You want freedom? Finish the cycle." Maya clutched her stomach. This was bigger than betrayal. It was a program, a generational game. Carlisle had been watching girls like her for decades, and Daniel had been raised for this. The next morning, Maya confronted Rowan. He listened in silence. Then, finally said, "There's something I haven't told you." Maya tensed. Rowan opened a locked cabinet in his office and took out a yellowed file. 3 girls, all between the ages of 6 and 10. All went missing in the mid-90s. All had connections to Carlisle's school. 2 of them lived near where you grew up. He slid a photo across the table. The girl in it looked almost exactly like Maya at age 8. Her name was Faith. Never found. But her mother swore someone had been watching her before she vanished. Maya stared at the girl. "How is this connected to me?" Rowan hesitated, then said, "Because your adoption file was sealed, Maya, and it matches the date Faith disappeared." Her mind reeled. "No, my parents adopted me when I was 3, from a different town. They told me—" Rowan shook his head. "They believed that, but someone changed your records. Your real name may have been Faith." Maya stumbled back, her ears ringing. "Are you saying I was one of his victims?" Rowan sighed. "I'm saying he might have chosen you for something." Her body went cold. "I need to go." Back home, Maya searched every box her parents had left behind. Photos, letters, adoption forms. None of them made sense now. Then she found it, tucked inside an old children's book, a hospital ID bracelet. Faith C. Date, June 17th, 1997. Location, Hillgrove Medical Center. Her hands shook. She wasn't Maya Carson. She had once been Faith Carlisle, Carlisle's daughter, or one of his kidnapped projects. She didn't know, but she was going to find out. That night, the texts returned. Unknown number. "You're so close now. The truth is almost free," she responded. "Who are you?" The reply came seconds later. "I am what's left of your mother." Maya's hands flew to her mouth, her real mother, still alive. She typed, "Where are you?" But no answer came. Just a ping, a dropped GPS pin on an old industrial site, 60 miles north. She didn't think. She drove. The warehouse was dead quiet. No lights, no sound, just the creaking of wind against old metal. She entered through a side door. Inside, the scent of dust and rust choked her. Then she saw her. A woman, late 40s, fragile with dark eyes and trembling hands. She turned slowly. "You came," she said softly. Maya's voice cracked. "Who are you?" The woman stepped closer. "My name is Caroline. You used to call me Mama Care." Maya blinked fast. The name stirred something deep. "Why did you leave me?" Tears welled in the woman's eyes. "I didn't. He took you from me. I spent years searching. When I finally found you, you were with new parents, happy, safe. I didn't want to ruin it." Maya staggered back. The camera shook. The video ended. Maya screamed. She didn't remember standing, just pacing the room, gasping, hands in her hair, as the image of that fall played over and over in her mind. He didn't call for help, didn't kneel down, didn't even check if she was alive. He just stood there. Then he buried her. For 2 days, Maya didn't speak, didn't cry, just planned. She knew she had to be careful. Daniel was watching. Not in an obvious way, but subtly. A question too quickly answered. A phone picked up the moment she entered a room. His fingers brushing hers too often, like checking for tension. She couldn't slip. Not yet. She needed more. Proof. A witness. So she called Lena again. "Can you run a blood test on old clothes?" she asked, voice cold. "Yes." "What? Don't ask." Lena paused. "Bring them. I'll have it done off record." Maya didn't wait. That night she dropped the duffel bag off with Lena and said only, "If I disappear, you show this to the police." "All of it?" Lena's eyes widened. "What the hell are you into, Maya?" Maya just hugged her, trembling. "Something I should have seen years ago." The next morning, a knock came at the door. Daniel was in the shower. Maya opened it and almost fainted. Standing on the porch was a woman, mid-30s, pale, thin, scar across her left cheek. "Eleanor?" Maya whispered. The woman didn't answer, just pushed past her, slamming the door shut behind them. "You need to listen," she said. Maya's knees buckled. She was alive. "I didn't die," Elena said, pacing the living room. He thought. "I did. I hit my head. He panicked, buried me, but I wasn't dead. I woke up in the pit." Maya's stomach churned. "I clawed out," Elena continued, her voice flat. "Crawled to the lake. I passed out. Someone found me. A drifter, never called the police. He helped me vanish." "Why didn't you come back?" Maya asked, breathless. Elena looked at her, eyes hollow. "Because I wanted him to suffer. I wanted him to think I was haunting him, so I started sending messages to you, because you needed to see it too. You sent the video," she nodded, "but I didn't film it. Someone else did, someone who's been watching him even longer than I have." Maya's heart stopped. "Who?" Elena didn't get to answer. "Because..." Right then, the bathroom door creaked open, and Daniel walked out, towel around his waist. He froze when he saw Elena. Color drained from his face. "Elena?" She smiled, cold and cruel. "Miss me?" Maya stood between them. "You buried her," she said, voice shaking. He stared at Elena. I thought you were..." "Dead?" Elena laughed. "Yeah, so did I for 3 minutes, until I woke up gasping for air with dirt in my throat." Daniel took a step back. "You don't understand." Maya cut him off. "No! You don't understand. I found the box, the photo, the voicemail, the clothes. I followed you to the lake." He paled. "You don't know what you're talking about." "You loved her," Maya whispered. "And when she threatened to tell me, you silenced her." His face twisted, not with guilt, but anger. "You think this was about love?" "She was blackmailing me." Elena laughed. "Oh, please." Daniel turned on her. "You were threatening my life, my marriage. You were living 2 lives because I had to." He shouted. Then silence, and something changed in his eyes. He looked between the 2 women. Something snapped. Then he ran. Maya and Elena rushed after him, out the door, down the street, barefoot and breathless. He was already in the car. By the time they reached the road, his tires screeched around the corner and disappeared. "He's going to the lake," Maya gasped. Elena nodded. "To destroy what's left." They followed. Elena drove. Fast, reckless. Maya clutched the door handle and held her breath. They reached the forest in record time, dashing through the trees toward the clearing Maya had visited days earlier. But Daniel wasn't digging. He was burning. The pit was aflame. Old papers, bags, boxes, ashes flying. He didn't hear them until Maya screamed his name. He turned, eyes wild. "It's all lies," he shouted. "None of this proves anything." "Elena is standing right here." Maya yelled. "She's dead! She should have been dead!" That's when Elena stepped forward. You made sure of it. Daniel lunged, but this time Maya didn't flinch. She picked up the same shovel she used to dig up the first box and swung. It caught him across the face. He dropped, blood spilling into the soil. They called the police. Lena met them halfway with everything Maya had gathered. Daniel was arrested on the spot, suspected attempted murder, unlawful disposal of a body, obstruction of justice, and more. They were still counting the charges when Maya walked away. That night, Elena sat beside her on the porch. Neither spoke for a long time. Finally, Maya asked, "Why come back now?" Elena smiled weakly. "Because I saw the way he looked at you, and I knew he'd bury you too, eventually." It was 2:17 a.m. when Maya heard the footsteps above her ceiling, slow, deliberate, one step. Then a pause, another, then silence. She froze in the hallway, holding a glass of water. Her heart climbed into her throat. Every light in the house was off, except the one behind her, humming quietly in the kitchen. The attic. Her blood ran cold. She hadn't been up there since the night she locked Daniel's duffel bag inside. And Daniel was in jail. She put the glass down, quietly, carefully, then reached for the drawer and pulled out the knife. Minutes earlier, Maya had been sleeping on the couch. Elena was staying in the guest room. They hadn't said much since Daniel's arrest. Grief and relief both tangled in the air, but now, with the sound of soft shifting above her head, Maya's instincts roared awake. Someone was up there, and she was going to find out who. She climbed the stairs with her back pressed to the wall, each step creaking beneath her weight. At the top, she reached for the attic latch, paused, then slowly pulled it down. The ladder fell open with a wooden clack. She waited. Silence. Then, gripping the knife tight, Maya climbed. The attic smelled like dust and old books, and something else now. Sweat, metal, and something rotting. She scanned the space with a flashlight. There were boxes, old Christmas decorations, her father's, antique typewriter, the trunk, still locked, still tucked behind the beams, and then she saw it. In the far corner, a bedroll, crushed fast food wrappers, a flashlight, a notebook, a small recorder. Someone had been living here recently. She knelt beside the notebook, flipped it open. Inside, names, dates, surveillance notes, her name, Elena's name, Daniel's name, then a page that made her chest seize. She found the box today. The game has changed. Maya's waking up. Good. Time to finish what he started and what he failed to bury. She staggered back, the knife trembling in her hand. Someone had been watching them for years, and they were still here. A loud thud below made her jump. She scrambled down the ladder, heart pounding. "Elena!" she called out. "Elena!" No answer. She rushed into the hallway and froze. The front door was wide open. The wind blew in faint whispers of cold air. A smear of blood led out across the porch. Her scream ripped through the night. 20 minutes later, police sirens cut through the silence. Officers searched the house, the yard, the attic. The bedroll was gone. The notebooks, too, but the trunk, with Daniel's duffel, was still there, untouched. "Maya," the officer said gently, "was anything taken?" She nodded. "A person. Elena. She was staying here. She's gone." "Any signs of a break-in?" "No," Maya whispered. "Just signs of something left unfinished." At dawn, Maya sat curled in a blanket in the living room, rocking herself slowly. Detective Rowan, the lead investigator on Daniel's case, sat across from her with a cup of coffee. "You said someone's been watching the house?" he asked. She handed him the page she tore from the attic notebook. His face stiffened. "Have you seen anyone suspicious lately?" She thought back. The strange man across the street who always walked his dog after midnight. The UPS driver who never made eye contact. The neighbor who never waved. "Too many," she murmured. That afternoon, Maya went to the jail. Daniel was behind glass, bruised, wild-eyed, and smirking. "Miss me already?" he asked. "I need names," she said flat. He tilted his head. "What kind of names?" "Someone's been living in our attic, watching us, writing things, tracking Elena. Tracking me. You knew, didn't you?" He leaned forward, voice low. "You think I'm the monster in your story, but there are worse ones, ones who made me what I am." Her blood chilled. "Who?" He smiled. "My brother." Her jaw dropped. "You told me he died in a car crash before I ever met you." "He did," Daniel said. "At least that's what I told the police. And you, but he survived, just barely." Maya's voice cracked. "Why lie?" "Because he wasn't right after that. Something in him changed. He started breaking into homes, filming people, digging holes in the woods and saying they were traps for the truth." "You covered for him?" "I owed him." Maya stared, horror blooming behind her eyes. "All this time, he's been in the attic, on and off, watching, waiting. He said if I ever messed up, he'd finish it." Maya leaned closer. "He has Elena." Daniel's smirk vanished, and then, for the first time, real fear flickered in his eyes. That night, Maya got another message, a photo Elena bound. In what looked like an old basement, a torn photo of Daniel nailed to the wall behind her. Caption, "She told too much. You shouldn't have let her speak." No number, just the image. "Even when I was trapped in a legacy I didn't choose. I hope one day you'll know the difference between who I was raised to be and who I became because of you. I loved you. I still do. I always will." Daniel. She burned it, not out of anger, but to let it die. In the following weeks, Maya did the unthinkable. She shared her story, anonymously at first, then publicly. Her video, titled, "I Was Raised by My Kidnapper. Here's What I Remember Now," went viral. Millions watched. Some cried, some disbelieved, but most listened, and then women started writing in, some with memories, some with scars, some with names, pieces of the puzzle. Carlyle hadn't just manipulated her life. He had created a network of controlled chaos, women emotionally destroyed, isolated, and discarded. But now they were talking, because Maya talked first. Then came the book, not about revenge, but about survival, about rebuilding, about how even if your identity was rewritten, it was still yours to reclaim. And Maya did, every single word. 1 year later, on Elena's birthday, Maya took her daughter to the beach. They built castles, chased waves, and shared ice cream that melted down their wrists. As the sun set, Elena asked, "Mama, are monsters real?" Maya paused. "Some are," she said, "but they don't win." Elena thought about that, then smiled. "Good." Maya pulled her close. "They never win, baby, not if we don't let them." That night, Maya sat alone on the porch, watching stars blink into existence. A new email pinged. Subject line, "I think he raised me too." She opened it. Read the trembling words of another woman who remembered something she wasn't supposed to. Maya typed 2 words, "I'm here," then hit send. She didn't have all the answers. She never would. But she had something Carlyle could never control. Voice. And now she would use it, not for revenge, not even for justice, but to build a world where girls like her didn't have to survive the unthinkable just to be heard. The end.